Welcome, everyone. Yes,
Well,
it is BG5 Live number 7. Vanessa, I can't believe 7 sessions under our belt so far. So we have our nice theme for the week. We call it Mastering the Art of Stillness. And we have this wonderful guest. Her name's Debby. We're going to be introducing her a little bit later in the show. She is the embodiment of stillness. So we'll have some great conversations and questions for her. Also, this is a little bit of a personal note. It's another special day also because my dad's birthday is today. He is 87 years young. He's just a wonder. And so he turned 87 today. I wished him a happy birthday, and he's going out with his sweetie, and he's having a nice birthday day. And he's just this model of health at his age. So I just love it. And I sort of revel in that potentially that's my genes, going strong into your late 80s. I feel very introspective today. And so I want to give some shout outs to a couple people. So Vanessa and I have this amazing, amazing team. So it takes a team to run. Vanessa and I are sort of like the pretty faces who operate this show. But behind the scenes, we have Sarah, who sort of heads up the administrative. We have Alina and Stephen, who's our marketing guru. So just some shout outs to our people who are behind the scenes helping us. And also today, even though we haven't done this, Vanessa is this wonderful, wonderful sort of source of energy, vitality, and creativity. And I'm just loving having her as a co-host. She sort of finds these interesting people and sort of brings them in. And you're going to see with today how just her circle of people is wonderful. And this is me again, another express builder. A little bit of again, introspection. So I am finishing up my 3rd foundation class, moving into foundation 2, and I'll be teaching certification classes starting in the fall, in September. And so there was this music teacher I had in elementary school, and I used to play the trumpet. I was horrible at it, horrible. If I could think back, it was something that I get sort of like pushed into. Had no response to playing the trumpet, and my music teacher used to just shake his head at me how bad I was. But he used to say, like, you have to practice to develop your chops. So the reason I'm telling you this kind of silly story is that after I've taught for a while, and I taught BG5 way back, and I came back recently, and so I feel like I'm finding my teaching chops, and I'm really happy about that. So I got to sort of move through a couple classes, and I have some wonderful, wonderful students that I have the privilege of working with. So that's just a little reflection, and let's jump into cosmic weather, and you can see why I'm feeling a little introspective today. So this is the cosmic weather for today. So I'm going to just touch on a couple key points, and Vanessa is going to be the one who takes us deeper into this. Let me just give you a way to look at a transit chart in case you've never seen this, never heard about it. So a couple things. One is you can start in looking at this little place here, which is, we call them the qualities, or in human design terminology, lines. So we would say this is a first line day. So first line days are introspective. You want to go deep, you want to study, and sort of you go within. And so if you find yourself in that place where you're like, wow, I'm feeling more studious today, or I'm really introspective today, that's probably why you're seeing that. So every day, I don't know if, Vanessa, you can tell me, I don't know if it's 24 hours, the sun cycle, but pretty much we go through this over the course of 6 days. Vanessa, is it 24 hours?
it's a little less than 24. I don't know the exact hours, but it's less, maybe closer to
22?
20, 22, something like that.
Yeah. So basically every day it changes, the line quality changes. And so you can get to look at, and if you look at those 6 lines, they kind of reflect the mood of the day, sort of on a more societal level. You can also look if there's any, like we look here, and this is a whole strength. So we have this intuitive survival instinct connected to the throat. So this is talent. So if you find, and this transit's been in for a little bit while. So if you find yourself wanting to express your gifts and your talents, that's one of the ways. So you can use the transits for positive, and sometimes you have to also watch out for the struggles. So here's something that's interesting. We notice that the emotions, in human design, we call it solar plexus, we call it emotional intelligence in BG5. It's actually open. And so what that means is the emotions are not necessarily, in the frequency right now. But if you have certain traits in your design, like if you look here, the 12 or the 55, then this becomes activated for you, or this becomes activated for you. So suddenly, if you're feeling more emotional, you're feeling moody, if you're feeling melancholic, that's the reason. And guess who has both the 12 and the 55? Me. So whenever I see these kind of transits showing up, I know that I'm in for a little bit of a moody ride. Again, it's not bad or good. It's just helping you understand how the transits can affect you. And I've been watching this for a while, and usually I don't watch it on a daily basis, but I like to watch the transits if suddenly things start feeling different for me internally, either in my mind or in my body or in my emotions. And so when you look at the transits, you can see, okay, something's matching up. Then that's a way to look, okay, that's not me. And I like to remind myself, that's just the frequency. That's just chemistry. And essentially I'm telling myself, just don't take it personal. And that actually, I don't know how it works, but that helps me relax. Even if I'm feeling really emotionally jittery, knowing that it's just chemistry helps me like down. All right, Vanessa, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you're going to start with the 52, which I find is really exciting. You can talk about cosmic weather.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. And thank you for the recognition earlier. And so grateful for everybody also that is working behind the scenes, and very excited about our guest today. So we are currently, since yesterday afternoon, in the transit of trait 52, which is stillness. And this is a drive and stamina. So this is root center drive and stamina function trait that provides pressure and fuel that gives you the ability to still yourself, which sounds a little bit backwards, like pressure and fuel and still seems a little like, oh, how does that work together? But it's pretty cool because it allows you to actually still yourself for great lengths of time so that you can focus and concentrate. And it's important to find something that you really identify with so that you are able to channel your energy towards that. There is staying power here and the ability to, this is like the Buddha gate, to really be still for extended periods of time. But I've also heard it referred to as the couch potato gate. So there might even be a little bit too much stillness. So you want to watch out for that if that comes up for you in the next, well, we have about 5 more days. It's important to have something that you really deeply identify with here so that you can really channel your energy into it. This is the beginning. This is the format strengths of the logical sharing thematic. So this is kind of where it all begins. And if you have this entire strength, this is going to very much affect your chart. And if, like Mike and I, you only have the opposing trait of the 9, this does create the strength for you right now. And it's actually a great time to really focus for those of us that can, well, to really concentrate. For those of us that have a hard time sitting still, I know I do. I think Mike might also have that problem. So this is about being of service. So being really focused and still with the underlying purpose, being of service to others. There can be this pressure, this balancing, this bouncing around about like moving forward and taking action versus sitting still and waiting for the focus to come to you. So balancing that is going to be really important right now. And there can be this vacillating between that restlessness, but also like a depression or a melancholy like in the empowerment or individual thematic, but this depression about not having anything to focus on and just bouncing from thing to thing to thing, just trusting that that focus will come in time as you're able to sit still and allow it to come in. When you do find something to focus on, you might be seen as antisocial by others because you will really get so deeply into that thing that it kind of tunes others out. So yeah, anything you want to add on that, Mike?
Yeah, I have a 52 in my life. So I have the 9, like you were talking about. So I have one side and, my partner has the other. I have literally seen her sit at the computer 6, 7, 8 hours. And I look and it boggles my mind that she has that ability to do that. It's like, whoa. So when Vanessa was talking about the mountain, just sinks in, stillness happens. It's a power to behold, I gotta say. So thanks, Vanessa. Moving on to
Next one is trait 39, obstruction. And I know this one well because I have it in my design. And again, we're still in the drive and stamina function or the root center in human design. And this is pressure. So there is a pressure here to obstruct, provoke, and bring out the emotional expression of both of yourself and also of others. And the reason I created the slide and I thought button pushing was the perfect image for it because this energy can really push people's buttons. And if you have this unconsciously defined in your chart, like I do, sometimes you're just pushing buttons and you have absolutely no idea until somebody's spirit lets you know you've pushed some buttons, which is always fun. Through your emotional expression, you supply this combative, obstructive fuel that helps to tease out the true spirit of what is taking place. And while you're provoking, you can also get in touch and work out your own feelings, emotions, and spirit. And one of the things that this does, it helps to tease out the spirit of those that are right for you. And when I learned about this in my own chart, I always thought this trait was the bane of my existence. But when I really learned about this, and I was like, oh, I love this benefit of it because the people that I provoke in my unconscious way that are just don't get frazzled by it, like those are my people. And that has been such a big gift and like recognizing the right energies for me. There can be energy here to persevere through your periods of assessment, the moodiness, the up and downs of the emotional wave. And others may react negatively. And I know because I've definitely had that experience to your moods, your obstruction, and what you provoke. But this is actually part of your gift when you have this defined. And for those of you that have it undefined, you'll get to experience this starting on Sunday. There are different ways to provoke, including not doing anything. And one of the things with this particular trait, it's a trait of deafness because it does not really want to be influenced by others. And it's also rather indecisive. And that indecision can be really provoking. Now, luckily, we have BG5 and human design, and when we know and understand our unique decision-making strategy, that can help tremendously with the decision-making process. And oftentimes in this situation, it is actually best to bypass the obstacle rather than to try to overcome it. And I like to think about floating down a river. Like if a rock is in your way, you go around it. You don't necessarily climb over it unless for some reason that's the correct thing to do. So sometimes it's just about going with the flow and going around those obstacles. Anything you care to add, Mike, especially since my 39 provokes your 55?
I love 39s, the right 39s. So I've had some people in my life who had wonderful relationships. How that provoking shows up in some ways is teasing. And I don't normally like to be teased. I have so much strong individuality, but there's certain people who tease out and it just makes me laugh at myself. So that provocation can be wonderful in the sense of like not taking myself too seriously. And you mentioned the word fickleness. I didn't really fully associate it with the 39, but it makes sense. The 55, so fickleness is you like something, you like something, you like something, and then you don't, or you want to do something, you want to do something, and then suddenly you just don't. And it's like a switch. It can be very jarring. And so, like Vanessa was talking, we're not making a decision, not making a decision. So there's uncertainty, and then there's this, oh, okay, yes, now I know. And it's very interesting, and you notice that there's a little bit of antisocialness there, in the sense that you just want to go in and find your spirit. So Vanessa, nice description. Moving on to the 53 beginnings.
53 beginnings. So I also have this one. I have the entire strength. It is my format strength. And this is the pressure to start new experiences so that you can mature and grow with them. And it fuels trait 42, which can actually complete the cycle. So there is like the people that have this defined, and also you'll experience this, and it goes into transit on Saturday, July 6th at 14:28 or 2:28 p.m. Eastern time. So you will get to experience that pressure of beginnings. Now, if you have this trait defined in your chart and you don't have trait 42 defined, the one right above it, you may experience that you're somebody that starts a lot of new things but doesn't necessarily finish them. And if you're somebody that has the 42 defined and not the 53, this might be a really great transit to start things that you can finish. And remember, whenever you only have half of the strength, you will naturally, when you're following your decision-making strategy, you will attract the energy that you need to complete that for you. So you don't have to worry if you only have half of it. You're going to draw in the right people when you are living in alignment and following your decision-making strategy. Now, this is, again, the fuel and pressure. We are still all of these traits, all of these transits are in the drive and stamina function. This one is about sequence development, going through entire cycles from beginnings, then to middles and endings in the 42. And there's a lot about right timing here. Now, this is a generative strength. So if you happen to have this entire strength, you want to make sure you're responding to the correct things for you and using your decision-making strategy, because I will tell you from experience, when you enter into a cycle, you will complete it. And a good example for me is I enter into a lot of educational cycles. And before understanding human design in BG5, and even now a little bit, I would get so overloaded because I'm like, I love starting new things. And I have a lot of other energy like that in my chart. I love starting new things. I love education. And it's like, once I'm in it, I got to finish it. So I'm one of those people, like all the educational courses I start, I actually finish them. Like that's one thing I never have to worry about. The problem comes in when I started the wrong thing and now I'm spending all this energy finishing it. So if you have the strength defined, heed my words, like make sure you're really following your decision-making strategy, because you will complete the cycles that you enter into. So again, timing, initiating cycles whose time has come, and also being able to see how this flowers and ripens for the future, only starting things that you are able to complete so that you don't get caught up in unhealthy cycles or get stuck in the loops of incompleteness. Now, especially if you don't have the 42 defined, you just want to be really careful about that, especially with this transit, because if you don't have this trait in your chart, you're going to be fueled to start new things. Follow your decision-making strategy, be aware of the transit, and start the things that are correct for you. Yeah, and then this is in the sharing thematic. This is in the abstract. It's about sharing what you have learned through the experiences and the cycles that you have completed, and the freedom to enter new cycles for growth and expansion, and then be able to share about them. So that is it on the 53. Anything you have to add, Mike?
I like the second bullet point you were talking about, the saying yes, and how key that is. I like your story there. And also, you didn't say it, but it was sort of implicit in what you said. In addition to saying yes, how powerful that is when it's correct, saying no is likewise incredibly important too, because if you're saying no to an experience you're not meant to have, that's a good thing. So good job, Vanessa. We're going to move into something deeper. We're going to go build on the 52 to the whole strength, the 952, which is a strength of concentration. So our guest is going to be a living example of this. We'll just talk about some of the bullet points here. I also want to take a moment to sort of do a little mini coaching lab around this idea of formats, and I'll explain that in a minute. So the 52-9, sorry about that, concentration. It's the ability to maintain stillness and focus. To just try to picture yourself, you've had this strong response, this is the thing, and then you just drop into this place of stillness, focus, concentration. That's really, in today's day and age, that's a superpower. So I'm trying to imagine, like all this stuff happening all around you, but you have this ability to just relax it. So you focus on the details, you get to experience this quiet, non-stressful pressure. It kind of holds you in place. So you may find yourselves at times restless and depressed if there's nothing worthwhile to focus on. So you actually want to focus. You want to engage that part of yourself. So when focused on the details, you experience the pressure just quieting down and a sort of relaxation. And we'll get to ask Debby about that more. There's also this theme that's very prevalent in collective logic understanding circuitry, the thematic, is doing things on a step-by-step way. So you build until you sort of accumulate knowledge, accumulate skills, accumulate sort of a level of mastery. That's the way this circuit works, and it starts here in this place of the 52-9. So remember, it's the gut. You have this strong inner response to, yes, this is something I want to focus on. Yes, this is the skill I want to develop. Yes, this is the pattern I want to perfect. And then ultimately, you want to share it with other people. So here's something that I wanted to think about. So all of the thematics that we were talking about, that Vanessa was mentioning, the 52, the 39, the 53, all of those exist in the drive, stamina, function. So that's pressure, it's drive, it's moving out. So over the next 3 weeks, if you notice this pressure to sink in, if you notice this pressure to tease, to provoke, or to sink in, that's the impact of the transits. Your job is just to notice it. Notice how it's playing out. Notice those line qualities. So I felt this is a little bit different. I don't know if we've done this before. So this little mini coaching learning lab. Vanessa, this is something that just kind of popped into my head this morning. So we'll just do a quick, but a little bit of a deep dive with the intention that people who are listening to this can use this in their business, in their practice, or for themselves, for personal awareness. So let me just do a little show and tell here. This is one of the most, I'm not sure the word. You have these two functions connected by these little teeny lines. And so you might make the mistake of thinking, oh, these aren't a big deal. Or maybe these strengths aren't, maybe they're not as strong as some of these long ones on the sides over here. There could be nothing further from the truth. So there are 3 strengths here. And so let me sort of map them out for us really quick. So we have the first one, the abstract circuitry, the strength and maturation cycles. This is what Vanessa was talking about. This is the strength that she has. So this is a life cycle of having learning journeys that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So when you start something, you have this genetic imperative to finish it. That's why she was talking about this saying yes from this inner gut response, and why that's so important. So right here, so your life is a never-ending journey of learning cycles that have these beginnings, middles, and ends. And you're always going to have this multiple cycles going on at any one time. So I'm just, so then we have the next one, which is the right in the middle, the 360. This is the strength in mutation. Mutation is a pulse. It's either off or it's on, off or on. So what usually happens with this pulse is there's no awareness, no awareness, no awareness, and suddenly there's where you know, or you suddenly move into action. This can feel really almost destabilizing in a sense, because the way I like to describe it to students and clients is, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, and then suddenly you just do know. Or I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, and then suddenly you do. The thing to understand about, if you have this or you have a client who has this, you are not in charge of that pulse. It just comes of its own accord. And while it's sort of in its dormancy, your job is just to relax and just wait for that to happen. And then suddenly, now also, this mutation can happen sometimes on a daily basis. Sometimes it happens over the course of a week, sometimes a month, and sometimes the mutation takes a year, 2 years, or longer. So I don't have this particular strength in my design, but if you have any individual circuitry strengths in your design, you operate on this frequency of mutation. The last one, which we covered, is the concentration, the 52.9. We won't revisit that. So they're called format strengths, and they exhibit a significant influence on anyone's design who has one of these. This is a big key, a big signpost for how they're designed to live. Okay, so there's two ways to look at this, and we'll go through this quick, and then we're gonna get the chance to talk to Debbie. So two ways is, the first thing, if you're coaching, if you're studying BG5, you're helping them understand, how does this person or your coachee experience this strength? And so that's the way I just described it, is a way that you could help them understand, this is how this operates. The other thing to understand about these format strengths, which is really important, is if you have this defined in your design, you have a big impact on the people around you. So we talk about this idea of, what are you putting out? What are you broadcasting so that others experience? How do others people experience you? They experience your learning journeys, your cycles. They experience your mutation, or they experience your stillness. So with you around, so if again, this is if you have the 952, concentration, stillness, with you around, if you have this defined in your design, other people around you can feel that stillness. They can feel that ability to sink in. Some ways that's like we talked about, is a superpower. So a little bit of a learning lab, just to help you understand that this material works on I like to think of it as a multi-dimensional level. So we experience it ourselves if we have it in our design, but it's also out in the field around us and how we can positively impact others. So that's our sort of learning. We did the transits, we did the daily transits. Let's move on to our guests. I'm going to turn this over to Vanessa, who is going to be able to introduce.
Okay, I'm so excited about having this guest today. So Debby Levering, who is with us today, I met her years ago in a human design program, actually. And we were put in a group together, which makes absolute sense, because Debby is like my human design twin. We are both 5/1 emotional express builders. We have 3 companionship channels. We both have the 3420, the 2750, the 3740. We share a bridging trait as well, and we became really fast friends. Debby and I also both live in the Caribbean, and we absolutely love it. And we have never met in person, not yet. We will meet in person. I will say, in the time that I've known Debby, she has blessed me in so many ways, including with her 952 strength. So we both share the fact that we both do have format channels defined in our chart, but they're not the same one. And I think she's such an exemplary person to be demonstrating this strength. The way that she uses it in her business is an absolute gift to me. And I am just very excited to introduce you guys to Debby.
Hello, everyone. Well, thank you, Vanessa. my sister from another mister, as we like to say. Oh, thank you so much. I love you. And yes, we have never met. And yes, we are so alike and yet so different and unique in many ways, and very supportive of each other. So yes, thank you so much.
So Debbie, I like to ask guests, how did you come to discover human design slash BG5? Do you have a story you'd like to share with us about how you got involved with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So years ago, I stepped into a coaching program, BodyMind coaching. And it was in there that one of the things that they asked us to do was figure out what type we were with human design. And I'd never heard of it. And I went to Ohio for a live training. It was a 5-day training. One of the girls had a human design book, and I looked at it, and it was the definitive book of human design. I was like, oh, interesting, but a lot of numbers. I was like, don't know, like numbers, me don't mix. But it was, it planted a seed. But then in the program itself, we didn't really, talk much more about it. And then it was around COVID time where I had to close my physical practice because I was a myofascial release therapist at the time slash coach. I was able to do a deeper dive, and it just came back to me as like, I need to do something more with this. Like now feels like the right time to focus on that. And that's what I did. And I just went down the rabbit holes, ended up meeting Vanessa, and she's the one that introduced me to BG5. So now I'm currently in Foundations 2. So yeah, super exciting.
Yeah. Do you use it? Are you using it in your work with clients now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I do individual readings, but I also do coaching, and the foundation of the coaching is always human design. If they have access to their chart and stuff like that, because it just cuts out so much time. Like you can just get to the core of the issues, and there's a lot of like healing through the shadows that I do with my clients, using various tools that I've gathered over the years, and I just love it. It's just such a great tool.
How's the experience been in learning about your design? Because I know that when I started learning about it, it's like, how does this system know this about me? It's kind of wild, almost disorienting accuracy. Like, what's been your experience of learning your design specifically?
I think it's just been like the pennies dropping.
Mm,
It's almost like I've felt it throughout my life. Like even as a child, I was like a very kind of like an oddball, and very connected to something, but I could never really put my finger on it. And as I explore my design more and more, it just like things start to make sense, and I've been able to do a lot of healing around a lot of stuff as well, especially the 5-1 profile, all the individuality, like all the projection. That's kind of been like a sore spot throughout my childhood, especially. But being able to heal that, and I don't know, just being able to be more self-compassionate, I think has been one of the most beautiful things. But I feel like it's just a confirmation. And like I said, it's almost like there's a recognition there. It just needed to find me.
you
So
sound.
I have a question that I think will be interesting for us to discuss. So Debbie, your conscious core essence is the 34 and your grounding balance is the 20. So you have this defined consciously. For Mike, this is unconscious core essence and grounding balance, and I have it in my unconscious past and future direction. Of course, you also have this beautiful format strength of the 952, and you were able to sit still, which has, for me, with that unconscious 3420, like sitting still, and of course, I have the 9 and not the 52. Mike also isn't a great sitter stiller from my understanding, and I would love to hear like how you experience your conscious 3420 along with your 952.
Well, you know what, having that in my incarnation cross, if you will, that's been something to really like wrap my head around. But it made so much sense. Like even as a kid, I would seek out stillness. I would just feel like I was the kid that would sit by the brook, listening to the water, and that it gave me something. I guess it allowed me to process the melancholy as well. it was just something that I needed. And with, you know, the 20, like just bringing myself back to the moment, I've always felt that this was what I just needed to do. I never really knew why, but yeah, I can also very much be that couch potato, don't get me wrong. But it's just the more I tune in to the quiet and the present moment, they really work together. Just bringing myself back into that moment, and it's almost like I revel in the stillness. It like
So
I let it surround me, and I can sit with that, and I know when to kind of, I can be very busy as well, but then there's just something in me that's like, all right, it's just time, slow it down, take a moment,
no,
take a go in.
something interesting that I've noticed about you, like over the years, is that you'll go through these periods where all of a sudden, the next morning, I get like a link from you and you've literally created an entire new website with just like all of this stuff. Like you had a sleepless night and just all of this stuff came through in like a few hours.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear, like, how do you feel that is influenced by your 3420 and your 952? Because you've done this multiple times. And then, like, a couple of months later, I get a whole brand new website and a whole brand new offer. And I'm just amazed at how you do that. I'd love to hear your experience.
That's exactly what, you know, what Mike said earlier about, you know, the somebody, I can't remember exactly who, but who is able to just sit down with a computer and just like be immersed for hours on end. And I get like that as well. But by now I'm just so in tune. I just know if it's not the right moment, I'm not going to get anything done. I'll just be pushing stuff around and rah, 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 and it's like, you know, it just, nothing lights me up. If I take a step back, I just maybe do something completely different. Like I go for a walk or I meditate, like especially in the mornings. I can't do busy mornings. I need to have quiet mornings. Or even in the shower. That's when I get, it's almost like the impulse will come, and I have this patience, like knowing I don't feel stressed. Like I know that I will get it done. And when I have these creative spurts, it's the same kind of thing. It's like marinating, it's happening. I can feel it kind of building up in my body. But if I force myself to sit down behind my computer and work with the ideas that I've got, instead of waiting for the right moment, it's just going to be wah, 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 instead of, do you know what I mean? So I just go about my day, and it's almost like I can feel it building up. I can feel it building up, building up, building up. And then it's like, oh, it's the right time. And for me, nighttime is perfect. So that's why very often the next day, you know, I can start when everything's quiet, like my husband's gone to bed. And all of a sudden I feel this pulse. And I actually work really well with deadlines as well, external deadlines. So, and this means that I just know that it's going to get done. If I have an external deadline, no matter how much work I have, I can get it done in a couple of hours if I wait for the right time.
So I very much relate to that. Also having a format strength, and this was a huge human design gift for me, that when that fuel and that pressure is there, I can do weeks of work in like a day. And when it's not there and I try to do that work, it is like pulling teeth. It is frustrating. My not self theme comes up. And you know, as I started to experiment with this, I had to really learn to trust that even with things like taxes, because nobody ever really wants to do taxes. But for me, what I've learned is like if I wait for that root pressure to come on and then I do my taxes, it's just done. It's fast. It's effortless. It's beautiful. And if I don't wait and I force myself, it is not fun. So I definitely relate to you in that regard as well.
And it's like when I have the right timing, I can actually, like, you know, I can move mountains. It's almost like you have that laser focus of the advisor, right? The projector, whereas like all of a sudden it's like boom, let's just get this done, and it's so satisfying. It really is. And then all of a sudden it's like poof, all right, and it's almost like, what, you know, where did it go? Like, but the task is complete. And Yeah, and I do exercises as well to bring the stillness in me, like every morning, as we've done it together with the you know, what I use in silent counseling for my clients, just like a mini exercise. I do this every single day. If I do happen to skip a day, I can feel it. I really feel it in my body. It's like, oh, I kind of, you know, because it helps you de-stress, etc. So, and all the pressure that we feel is, you know, outer pressure. It's society. It's expectations that we, you know, put on ourselves or have from others put on to us, etc., etc.
So listening to you, Debbie, I have this sensation of there's a Zen quality to the way that you describe experiencing your design. You know, there's this double phrase popped in. So in a lot of ways we talk about, you know, I have to live my design, but I get the experience listening to you. It's like my design lives me.
It's
Does that
more,
resonate with you at all?
yeah.
It's as if it's like this, our design is the software code, and our bodies and the way we express is sort of like the expression of that code or the program. You seem to be in perfect alignment with how your design is, and you're just expressing it out into the world.
It's so interesting you say that, because I don't know if Vanessa told you, but I just got back from walking the Camino de Santiago. And I walked for 7 weeks, and I met this guy that I ended up doing a little podcast recording with. And he said the exact same thing. He said, you've got this Zen quality about you. And I think this is my strength as well when working with clients. Like, okay, there's all this stress, there's all this like what ifs and, you know, future focused or like past stuff. And I'm like, let's just focus on the now. Let's just come back and calm down, slow down, and come back to the present. In that stillness, let's find what's important right now. And for me, not unfortunately, but one thing that I have learned through my human design is that, like Vanessa, I have so many trainings and stuff that I've bought into. A lot of it still from, you know, not being emotionally aligned, but I can really only focus on one thing at a time. So I need to complete the one thing, or at least complete some of the one thing before I can do the next. And so that's been an interesting one as well. But, you know, awareness and acceptance of that makes me be able to focus better as well.
Another question is, I'm guessing that a lot of your work is online. Do you see the impact? So we talked a lot about that 952, the concentration, the focus, the stillness. Do you find that you have that kind of impact with clients even online?
Yes.
Can I answer that?
Oh, sure.
Well, I have done pretty much, and Debbie offers a wide suite of really amazing modalities, and I've done pretty much every one of them. Debbie, have I missed any? Like, I've done all of them with you at some point.
Yeah,
and the level of like stillness that she brings, even in certain things like Akashic records healing, things of that nature, where we're not necessarily like, we're not on Zoom together. Like, I'm laying down, she's doing something in her space, I'm doing something in my space, and it is so impactful and powerful that it absolutely, I find, traverses time and space, even without being online together. Also being online together, but just with that intention and that connection, it's really powerful.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and also just you know, the moments that we've, you know, that I've been able to help you just kind of like come back, you know, with your give you different perspectives, get your ajna, get your head out of your ajna, and yes, so I do have that impact, not just on the people around me, I guess, friends and family, but definitely also with clients online. Just being able to help them de-stress. I think that again, it's you know, the pressure that people feel, and just to help them come back to this notion of, you know, you're not going to be able to predict what's going to happen. Like, get out of your head and get back into your body, which is the whole thing what drew me to become a body mind coach, like getting people out of the head into the body. Reconnecting with your body. And that's a lot of the things that I do with my clients as well. Like, just, okay, let's just connect. Let's put your hand on your heart, put your hand on your belly. Let's feel into the body. What do you need right now in this moment? And I do think it's funny because when you go to my website, it says, I am the calm in your storm. And that's how I feel to my clients, I guess.
That's how you feel to me as well.
No, thank you.
I often go to Debby, and you know, it's interesting. I'd mentioned that we haven't actually met in person, but we spend an exorbitant amount of time communicating over WhatsApp and even with our 3420s, like asynchronously. But Debby knows me really well, and I feel like I know her really well too. And there's been so many times where my defined conceptualization functions seeks her out because I need a bigger perspective from her undefined conceptualization function or the Ajna in human design. And she's really able to provide me with that grounding. It has been like such a special gift in our friendship. And I really want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for being my my wisdom and my go-to when I kind of need answers that I can't figure out. And yeah, we support. It's so good to have people in your life that have, you know, the definition or the openness in their in the design that you
And
can.
I do also want to say to those people that are considering BG5 training, the connections that I have made through different trainings, like Debby, like I said, is one of my best friends, and also multiple people in my BG5 training, as well as faculty and staff like Mike, Tuck, Sarah, Stephen. It has been such an incredible gift and blessing, and has helped me learn so much more about my own design and also their designs. So for people that are considering entering this world of BG5, having those connections and sharing those experiences with other people that are going through a similar training is absolutely priceless. And you will make lifelong friends through these experiences.
I agree. It's just beautiful the way it's all set up. The whole training and everyone sharing their experiences in the forum and getting insight from that as well, like, and all the you know, the different types or the different people sharing their experiences, the different nuances. It's really, really powerful. Absolutely, I agree.
So as we begin to close today's show, I want to highlight something that's important. It was sort of implicit in our discussion, is we focused on one part of Debby's design, that concentration, the 952. And so we looked at it from two perspectives. One is that how she experiences it in her life and how profound knowing that is and the relationship it has to the other parts of her design. But we also highlighted too, her ability to use that strength, that gift, to help clients, to help other people. So that's also part of our training, is we look at our different aspects of our design from a personal perspective and how we can work with other people. So the way that shows up is, this is how to market myself. These are the gifts that when I put them on my website, when I sort of put them on an offer, they're actually legitimate because I can do that. So we look at those aspects and we help you understand, essentially, this is how to market myself in a way that's really authentic to who I am. Debby, this was wonderful having you. It's my first time meeting you, but I feel like we're kind of buddies already. So the question is, where can we find and work with you if we want to?
Oh, look at me. That was on the Camino. Well, you can find me on debbylevering.com and take it from there.
All right. Debby, so good to have you on today's show. Vanessa, as always, anything last thing we want to do before we finish up?
I just want to say thank you, Debby, for being here, for being my friend, for being such an important part of my life, and everybody else that is behind BG5 and BG5 Live. And I'm grateful for all of you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.